Imagine a space for South Asian women where stories are not just told, but actually felt. This is ROOH, Rising Over Obstacles and Healing, brought to you by Jyoti and Monica, two friends who set out to carve a little space and make a difference by sharing stories and fostering healing and strength within our community. We invite you to listen and reflect, finding your own path one story at a time. And just for sticking around, there's a golden biscuit at the end of each episode. Hi, welcome back to ROOH. So how many of you have been told to study hard and become a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer or get into IT? It seems that these are the professions that are considered acceptable professions by our parents, and that's what we're pushed to do. Today, we're going to speak with someone who chose not to go down this path and chose instead to carve her own path. So we have with us today Simmy Jussel. She is the proud owner of 12th Avenue Bakery in Brampton, Canada. Welcome to the show, Simmy.
Thank you for having me. I've been wanting to be on your show for so long.
I know. I'm sorry. I know we've been our schedules haven't been matching up, but I'm so glad that we finally got a chance to do this. So I'm so curious to know when it was that you decided you wanted to go into baking. And I want to hear really the journey of what it took to finally become the owner of 12th Avenue Bakery.
Baking, I feel like has always been in my life. I just never knew I wanted to be a pastry chef. As a kid, my mom used to make our birthday cakes. I have great memories of just eating the cake or having a bunch of desserts. And then just also watching my mom bake. I think that's what intrigued me. But I wanted to be a lot of things. I wanted to be a doctor, a police officer, a teacher. I went through a lot of phases in my life. I was very indecisive. And then it was only until high school I started baking for my friends and family. And then eventually people are like, oh, are you going to make me a birthday cake? Are you going to make me a birthday cake? So I think I kept baking because I got a lot of good feedback too. And then I went to university because education was very important to my parents. And especially because they went to college. So I was like, okay, I got to do something. I got to make something out of myself. And you're only 18 when you're coming out of high school. It's like, what do you know? How do you know what you want to be at that age? And it was only up until my second year, actually, when I was still baking on the side and I was doing cake classes at Michael's. And I asked the teacher and I was like, hey, what's the scope? Can you make a career out of this? And then she's the one who told me about a pastry school in George Brown, which is in Toronto. I did a bunch of research and I didn't tell my parents yet. I was like, this is the point where I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. How do I execute this? How can I pursue this? And how do I tell my parents? So I was like, instead of telling my parents and getting rejected, I just went, applied and waited for that moment, for that letter to come in. And then I remember coming back from school, from university, and my dad's like, oh, Simmy, you got mail from George Brown. And he was so confused. I was like, oh, okay, I don't know. Kind of played dumb. And then I opened up the envelope and I read, you got accepted. I was so excited. And as soon as I got that acceptance letter, I just broke it down to my parents. I brought them into the living room. And I was like, hey, you guys, this is what I want to do. I want to pursue a career in pastries. They looked at me like I was crazy because they're like, okay, if this is something you want to do, first of all, you're halfway into your degree. How are you going to just change your career choice just like that? And I was like, I don't know how we're going to do it, but this is what I want to do. And they're like, what are you going to do if you change your mind again? And I was like, I won't change my mind. This is what I want to do. And I'm like, if I get to the point where I want to change my mind, then we'll deal with it then. But I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. There's no turning back.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of cool that you applied for it first and made sure that you got accepted because imagine you tell them this and then you go down that road and, you don't get accepted or whatnot. And then you're disappointed yourself, but now you've disappointed your parents who probably weren't on board in the first place.
Yeah.
But now they're upset because you didn't get in,
Yeah.
So did they come around? Did they see your passion and acknowledge that it was fine for you to go ahead?
Yeah, they definitely, I think it took them a day or two. They're like, Chal, if this is something you want to do, just do it. They're like, you already applied, got accepted. Like at this point, you've already made your mind. They already
Mm-hmm.
knew I'm a very stubborn child. So they knew that they were going to get their way with this.
Yeah.
And yeah. And then from there, I went to college for pastries.
Wow. So having your parents' support, I'm sure that was key. And it's
Yeah.
nice because not everyone gets that. But since your parents were supportive, did you feel any internal or external struggles or comments that made you like question the decision that you took to get into becoming a pastry chef?
There was a lot of second guessing. There was moments where I'm like, what if I'm not good at this? What
Mm-hmm.
career options are there? What can I do with this diploma? And
Yeah.
at that time, there was no other South Asian female in my career that I knew of. Like, especially Instagram wasn't such a big thing then. And I didn't know anybody that
Yeah.
was into pastries. Everyone was going off to school to being a doctor, to being a police officer or a teacher or whatever. So this is something that was very different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it was basically second guessing myself. But once I got into the first semester, I just fell in love instantly. And especially with French
Mm-hmm.
pastries, I was like, that's where my heart was. I was like, there's something about French pastries that's so different from other pastries. It's the precision in French
Yeah.
pastries that make them like the best of the best.
Mm-hmm. So can you explain to us what that precision is?
French desserts, they take time. There's
Mm-hmm.
no cutting corners. You have to follow the recipe. Patience is key.
Mm-hmm.
I learned a lot of patience in pastry school. And you just have to do it exactly when you're scaling to the gram, to the decimal. If you're off by
Mm.
just like a few grams, your recipe won't be the same.
I don't know if I'm a connoisseur when it comes to French pastries, but I think the one thing that I can say about French pastries is that I feel like everything is balanced. I never find them to be too sweet or too, like, you know what I mean? There's not one flavor that really sticks out. To me, it feels like everything is in harmony,
Yep.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I think when I went to France, that's what I learned as well, that it's all about the balance. You want the ingredients to speak for themselves. You don't want it to be just sugar. You want it to
Mm-hmm.
have balance, taste, texture, consistency, and
Yeah.
and memory. I feel like food is what brings everyone together.
Yeah, that is for sure. So you actually went to France to study French pastry. What was that like?
Yeah. So I made the choice of going to France. My school was actually doing a program that was like a few weeks at a French pastry school that's like well known. And
Hmm.
then to take it one step further, I asked my chef, our chef is our teacher,
Yeah.
and I was like, is there any way I can intern? Like, what can I do to like work at a bakery? And he's like, yeah, I can look for something. And then he found me a spot that was like in the same city that we went to school with. And I worked at a bakery for 3 months there, and it was the best 3 months of my life. There's only so much you can learn in school and on the books or
Hmm.
videos on online. But when you're in the field and you're actually doing the job that you want to do, you learn so much because there's
Hmm.
no book or theory that can teach you what you learn in the kitchen.
Yeah. I mean, for sure. I think there's no substitute for actual work.
Yeah.
Theories aside, you actually have to do the work to really fully grasp it, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, what was it like being a South Asian girl, having been brought up in Toronto, going to France? I'm assuming this was the first time that you were away from your parents?
Yes, actually, it was.
Yeah. So what was that like? Paint a picture for us.
It was definitely different. Like, I am the baby in the house. And
Mm-hmm.
also, my whole family, they went to India before I went to France. So, for 3 weeks, I didn't have my family. No, they didn't drop me off to the airport. So, I did everything on my own, packed my own suitcase, did everything. And I didn't know how to cook. I can make
Mm-hmm.
pastries, but I did not know how to cook. But thankfully, my chef's mom, actually, that I stayed with, she made me food. So, she was like my French mom.
Mm-hmm.
But being a South Asian female, like in France, was very different because nobody looked like me. I was probably the only South Asian woman in that city or even province, I would say.
Yeah.
And people didn't even understand what being Indian was or being what Punjabi was. They're like, oh, what is Punjabi? What kind of food is that? Like they were so
Yeah.
intrigued, but they didn't know
Mm-hmm.
what it was. So it was like a whole different world.
What was the food there like?
The food was amazing. Like I love food. I'm not a picky eater. There was a lot of good food. I had the only thing I didn't like were the sardines and the escargot. That wasn't my vibe, but everything
Yeah.
else was amazing. Like especially pastries. I think I lived off bread. Every day there was a boulangerie like right across our bakery that I worked at. I picked up a
Mm-hmm.
bread every day. I gained 20, 30 pounds, but it was the best 20, 30 pounds I gained.
Yeah.
Like the best time. I was like, I'm never going to get this stuff in Canada.
Yeah, and it just sounds so divine, just like fresh baked bread. I don't know if
Yeah.
there's anything better, you know? It's
Yeah.
just so good. So I'm sure being in that remote part of France where you're the only South Asian girl in that town, if not the province, must mean that there probably weren't very many Canadians there either. So I'm assuming the primary language they spoke there was French?
Yeah, everyone spoke French.
Okay, so what was that like? How did you navigate that?
That was a very fun experience and it goes back to my childhood. So, as I mentioned before, my parents were all about education. So, they forced me to go into French immersion in grade 7 because my sister went. So, I had to do it too. And
Mhm.
I hated those years of from middle school to high school doing French immersion. But when I went to France, it was the best thing my parents ever did for me was to make me learn French. Even though my
Yeah.
French wasn't great, it was not good, but
Mhm.
it was good enough to get me by. And if I couldn't say a word at the time, Google wasn't such a big thing to translate easy. I had a
Mhm.
dictionary. So I would quickly like flip a page of like, oh, this is what I want. This is what I want to do. And I think it was great because it was a small little town and not a lot of people spoke English. But the thing is, like, if you're going to submerge yourself in a different culture and you want to learn, you have to put your best foot forward and you have to really give it your all. So what I did is once everyone left, I went into the town that I was going to stay in for 3 months. I literally went door knocking to all the stores with my really bad French and I
Mhm.
introduced myself to everyone, told them who I was, why I'm here. And from that, I made friends. I literally made friends.
Wow.
Yeah. And then
Wow.
I still am in contact with people that live there. So it's really nice to know that. So it's like if you're traveling and you want to do something in your career, like if you're
Yeah.
passionate about something, really put your best foot forward and submerge yourself fully. Learn the culture, the food, the people. You want to
Mhm.
learn everything.
Yeah, so I'm just curious, what gave you the idea or the motivation to do that? I wouldn't necessarily think to go door to door and introduce myself. Is it something that you had sort of read about or you just kind of knew to just go and do this?
So for me, I'm a very social person and I can't just be by myself. And especially knowing
Mhm.
I was going to be there for 3 months, I was like, I have to make friends. I have to make neighbors. I have to talk to someone. Like, there's no way I'll do 3 months of just being to myself. So I don't know. I just did it. I was like, why not? Let's just knock on people's like storefronts, go inside. And also, since I'm going to be living there, I want to know where I can shop, what I can get, where I can get my food, where I can get clothes if I need it. And it was just nice. I was also 20 at that time too. So I just wanted to learn and I was very curious. I'm a very curious
Mhm.
person. So I
Yeah.
think my curiosity is what led me to door knocking.
That's amazing. I think that was such a good idea, such good advice too, to really like put yourself out there, put your
Yeah.
best foot forward. And it does involve being a little uncomfortable, but
Yeah,
I think you grow the most when you're uncomfortable, you know?
absolutely. And for me, I love the unknown and I think that's what I feed off of, the unknown. And
Hmm.
it gives me like that adrenaline rush to be like, okay, how can I learn more about this person or pastry or whatever it is? I'm just very curious and I want to know more about it and I want to be able to do the best.
Yeah. Okay. So, what was the biggest day to day shock or struggle that you would say you faced there? Other than obviously the language, which you kind of got by because you had some education in French. But aside from that, like, what would you say your biggest day to day struggle was there?
I would say that for me, it was a really good experience, but the struggle, I was good until the very end. is when I started getting a little homesick. It was my first time being away from my parents. I started missing my mom a lot and I missed her cooking. Like you couldn't get roti in France and
Yeah.
sabji and dals. Like that was not a thing. So I missed her cooking a lot, but I had to tell myself like, look at the bigger picture because this is something that's going to shape your career and open a lot of doors for you. So
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of internal conversations with myself saying, like, you chose this, you believed in yourself, and this is what you wanted to do. So push yourself. You only have 3
Mm-hmm.
months and make the most of these 3 months. So I had those
Yeah.
internal conversations with myself, like, just keep going, keep going. You're good. You're going to see your mom once you get back. You'll be fine.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I can so relate to that because anytime I kid you not, anytime I've gone on vacation where I haven't gotten Indian food, the first thing I want when I come back home is just some simple pili dal
Yeah.
and dahi and roti.
Yeah.
Like that's it. That's all I want, you know.
Yeah.
So I totally get it. As much as I love trying different foods and
Yeah.
learning about new cultures and going out and exploring, but there's just something about like a home cooked meal,
Yeah. Home is
you know.
home. No matter where you go, home will always be
Yeah.
home.
Yeah. So beyond baking skills, how did the time in France like shape your identity? Did it change how you see your Indian heritage or your place in the world? Or did you get the inspiration being in France, learning the French way of baking? Did you decide to incorporate your Indian heritage and background into your baking at some point?
Honestly, France changed me in ways I didn't expect. I went there thinking I was going to level up my pastry game, be like this master pastry chef, but it ended up shifting how I saw myself as a person and also as a pastry chef in the kitchen. I feel like being in a place where no one looked like me or understood my background made me realize like how much it actually means to be Indian. And before, I kind of like kept my heritage and my pastry world separate. Like there were two different complete identities. But once I surrounded myself with classic French techniques, like every day, all the flavors that I grew up with, like cardamom, rose, pistachio, started popping in my head. And I was like, what can I take from being here in France and bring my heritage into this? And at that time, there was like no French pastries and Indian flavored stuff. And I was like, this is what I want to do. I was like, I don't want to be just another French pastry chef. I want to do something different. I want to do something that's completely bold, think about flavors that people wouldn't think to do. At that time, no one was doing anything with cardamom. So I was like, why not infuse cardamom with like white chocolate and create like an entremet, which is like a French cake essentially, which is like mousse and different components. But I think going to France really made me understand that I should be bringing my own story, my own twist into the pastries. It shouldn't just be
Mm-hmm.
these Western flavors. There should be a twist to it. There should be something different. I wanted to be unique. I wanted to stand out
And honor your heritage as
and
well.
honor my heritage. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what was the very first thing you baked that incorporated the French technique with an Indian flavor?
It was the mousse shooter. So I have these pastries. I have a whole line of mousse shooters and different flavors. It was my mango lassi mousse. That was
Ooh.
the original OG.
Yeah.
And I remember I started giving it out to like food bloggers. This is like 2016, like so long ago. I was giving it out to Western people and they're like, wow, this flavor is so good. And I think that's where I'm like, okay, you know what? This flavor can actually sell. And then I created rasmalai. And everything I do, I just make a rasmalai version in it, and everyone goes crazy and they just love it.
I mean, how can you not? Ras malai
Yeah.
is just so good. Any which way you have it, it's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, was there ever a moment, whether it was at the beginning of your journey when you had applied to culinary school or while you were in France or once you got back, that you ever doubted the decision that you had made to follow this path?
No, I never doubted that decision. I had self doubts like, can I do this? Can I achieve this? Am I able to make customers? Will clients come back to me? But no, that day I got that acceptance letter was probably like the best day of my life because there was no turning back. And I just knew in my heart that this is what I wanted to do. And even talking about food or looking at food just gets me really excited.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like
I
50 Cent,
think
that fat kid that loves cake.
who doesn't love cake? I'm sorry. I
Right?
don't think I can trust a person who doesn't love cake. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
People
You
don't
know,
like desserts. You can't trust them.
you can't. There's something wrong with them, seriously.
Yeah.
There's some people who like to munch on chips and will forgo dessert. Monica, I don't know who those people are.
Listen, savory over sweets for me, but I can tell you I have had Simmy's desserts, and that's one thing I cannot forego. Actually, I go in for seconds. And I'm not saying it just because she's a guest. I really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. This is why I do it, especially when people go for those seconds and thirds. Like, that's why I do it. That's what like hits the heart.
Yeah, it's so important, right? It's almost like that intrinsic desire to want to please someone,
Yeah.
right? And, they always say a way to a person's heart is through the stomach.
Yep. Absolutely.
So you must be in a lot of people's hearts.
I hope so. I hope so. And stomach. Or no, actually, that sounds wrong.
No, I don't think you want to be in the
In
stomach.
the stomach. No.
Yeah. So there was never a moment where you thought, like, how am I going to support myself financially? How am I going to pay my bills, make a living off of this? Was that like secondary for you as far, did you know that like as long as I do what I love, like money will just follow? Is that like the internal conversation you had?
That was definitely an internal conversation I had with myself. Like, I do think that when you're very passionate about something, money does follow, but you do have to be mindful. So I never started full time until few years later. First, I actually rebranded this year. I'm 12th Avenue Bakery, but before I was known as Wake and Bake. When I had Wake and Bake going, I was also working full time at another bakery because it's like
Oh.
you want to still work and then have your passion. Like, that's where I made an Instagram page. And that's how I slowly started making new clients, loyal clients that kept coming back. And then eventually I got up to a point where I was like, you know what? It's time to quit this job and do Wake and Bake full time. And then after that, never looked back. I put in a lot of hours, did a lot of work, and it worked out for me.
That's amazing. That's so motivational for anyone looking to take a leap and to do something. And I love the way that you did this, where you didn't just like quit your job and then
No,
just
yeah.
start this. Like you did it slowly while you had a reliable job where you were
Yeah.
making money, and then you slowly sort of transitioned into this full time. So now that you have your own successful bakery, 12th Avenue Bakery in Canada, what does success truly mean to you?
Success is definitely growing your business. I started off just doing this part time, and now I'm doing it full time. I've also rebranded, which I found that to be very successful for me, especially because my old brand didn't reflect who I was now, being in my early 30s. Also, for me, success is when I'm creating memories for people. For example, food, there's always a dessert, there's always cake when people do gatherings.
There's no celebration that's complete without something sweet, without dessert or cookies or pastries. There's such an integral part of people's happy moments.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like I have such great memories of my birthday cakes and desserts. And now to think of it, I'm making these memories for people. And quite literally, I'm baking them. And I have clients that have been coming back to me for years and they get the same exact cake because their kid loves that chocolate cake. So every year they get that same chocolate cake. And now I'm like, when that kid grows up, they're going to be like, oh, I had that 12th Avenue Bakery cake. And they're going to remember that. And that's like me when I was in India with my bibi. We used to have atte wale biscuits and I used to dip them in her jaw. And that's like a core memory for me. And now I'm out here making atte wale biscuits and I have my niece taking those same biscuits and dipping it in my mom's or her nanny's jaw. So it's like a whole 180 moment. It's nostalgia. It's like creating memories that people won't forget.
Yeah. You know, it's so funny that you bring up atte wale biscuit because that's a core memory I have as
Oh,
well.
no
And I
way.
learned how to bake them
Yeah.
because of that, because
Yeah.
I had a memory of, in India, they would get them made from a local baker and they would
Yeah.
come in that pipa, right? Like
Pipe
pipe wale
wale biscuit.
biscuit.
Yes, that's what they called
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I have this memory of like opening the box and all you smelled was like butter and
Oh,
sugar and
yeah.
flour, that smell, right? And
Yeah.
then, dipping them in cha and eating them. And I'm forever trying to recreate that here.
Yeah.
I have to try yours now.
You gotta try mine. They're made from desi ghee, but it's such a wholesome moment because, like, I have that memory too. You'd get a bakery in Punjab that
Yeah.
makes it, and then it's like this whole thing where people, like your family members, like my boo and them, would come over, and it's just like packaging them, putting them away, like in this big drum. Like
Yeah.
it's memories, and it's
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
happy memories.
Yeah. And I have to say that it must be so rewarding to be a part of someone's core memory like that.
Yeah,
That's so
yeah,
positive, right? It's,
yeah,
something that all these years later that we haven't forgotten.
yeah. Exactly. Here we are years later, and we're still thinking about that same flavor, the same cookie.
Yeah, exactly.
Simmy, so after hearing your story, I just keep thinking back of that day you were at Michael's and you asked your teacher about, the scope of this and then getting that acceptance letter from George Brown. Is this what you envisioned your career to be? How is it different and similar to that?
I think in that moment, I definitely didn't envision all the accomplishments I achieved now. Never did I once, like when I was at Michael's, did I think I'd be going to France. I thought I'd just be doing pastry school, graduate, maybe work at a bakery, and that's it. I never even thought to have, like, well, I was baking on the side. So maybe I did want to do a bakery, but I never thought about French pastries. Like, it's crazy because at that time, I wanted to do fondant cakes. I hate fondant cakes. Sorry for the people that love the fondant cakes. And I left George Brown in love with French pastries. And the stuff that I did this year, I don't think I envisioned for myself. Like, I even started a live dessert bar that does like tres leches. So you can choose like the flavors of like vanilla, rasmalai. And I don't think I would have ever thought that. Like, it's insane when I look back at that Simmy that was sitting in the Michael class to the Simmy that I am now. And it's completely different. Like, I feel like I definitely evolved over the years.
That's so beautiful. It makes me so happy to
Oh, thank
hear
you.
that you went from taking classes at Michael's to, the journey you went on to now having your own bakery and really to do something that was so out of the ordinary for South Asians. Hats off to you, Simmy.
Oh, thank you.
What I want to know is, as I'm sure you're familiar, and today it seems more fitting than in other episodes, the Golden Biscuit of advice for our listeners who are dreaming of a non-traditional path, but they're nervous about making that final committed jump. What would you say to someone like that?
I feel like you should 100% take that leap of faith and just do it. Because if you don't do it now, you are going to live your life in regret. Even if, let's say, you're working a full time job, keep that full time job. What I would say is do your research first. See what kind of career you can get. See where you can volunteer. See where you can do an internship. Because that's where you're going to learn the most. Like I mentioned before, you can read about something, you can see these videos, but you won't know until you actually try it. So if there's something that you're very passionate about, if it's like a labor job, just volunteer. Do it for free. Do it for 1-2 days. It doesn't matter because that's when you'll actually know, like, oh, am I going to leave my full time job for this? Or should I just stay at my full time job? You always have to put your best foot forward and be vulnerable. You have to be vulnerable to making mistakes, learning from those mistakes, and learn how to do better and be better. Because if you don't make those mistakes, you're never going to be the best of the best. You have to fail in order to succeed. And also, when you love what you do, it's so rewarding. At that point, it's like you're just waking up and you're going to do something fun because that's something you really, really love and enjoy.
That's great advice. I really particularly love the fact that you were still sensible about it, that you had your job and you did this on the side until you could take it full time.
Exactly. You have to be mindful because life's rough. The economy is tough nowadays, you know? So,
and at the end of the day, we're still busy.
still busy.
We still have to have some sort of a safety net, you know?
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Simmy, for coming on. It's been such an enjoyable conversation. And if you live in the Toronto area, go out to 12th Avenue Bakery, try all the desserts, tell me which one is your favorite. And then that's what I want a shipment of, Simmy.
You got it. You got it. I don't know about the turfs now, but hey, I'll do my best. Also, you can actually catch me on the Food Network show. I'm going to be on a TV show this year, so watch it.
Really? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Wow, that's exciting. So tell us, what is the show called?
It's called Bake Master Battle.
Okay, so you're going to battle it out on Food Network.
Battle it out with all these amazing other pastry chefs and bakers. So I'm pretty excited. It's been a really, really, really good year for me.
That's awesome. Do we get to vote?
No, you guys don't get to vote, but you guys will see what happens on TV. I can't say much, but you guys will see. You'll have to tune in.
Yes, we will certainly look out for that. Thank you so much, Simmy. It's been such a pleasure.
Thanks so much, Jyoti and Monica, for having me. And by the way, I love your show. I listen to it. It's amazing. And you guys just keep doing what you're doing. Like, this is beautiful. You guys are speaking to so many people and making a difference. So thank you.
Aw, thank you, Simmy. That means a lot.
We'll be back next week. Thank you for listening to ROOH. We appreciate you joining us as we cultivate a community of strong, empowered women, one story at a time. If you or someone you know has a story you'd like to share, please contact us at roohdaraz@gmail.com. That's ROOHDARAAZ@gmail.com. Also, do us a favor and please share this podcast with your sisters, your mom, your friends, aunties, your eyebrow lady, like any lady you know. You know, you get the idea. Till next time, kush raho, be well.